Picture this. You're late into Half-Life, one of the greatest video games ever made. There have been high points and low points, but overall, the game has been absolutely stellar, especially for something over 25 years old. But then, you're plunged headfirst into Zen. The first map is nothing special, a bit of low-gravity platforming with the new long jump just to get you acclimated, and the next area is a massive chapter-long boss fight. The battle with the Gonarch rages on for several maps, and by the end of it, you're out of ammo, you're tired, maybe a little freaked out by the ethical concerns of murdering a mother as she's giving birth, and you just want a bit of a break, but you're not getting one. Oh no, oh no. By heading into that portal, you've just signed yourself away to the abyss, and entered the worst level in all of Half-Life. You're met with this sight. Pillars raising from the ground, several jump pads, a few platforms, manta rays floating around. It might actually be the most active and lifelike a Zen map has looked so far. Then, almost immediately, the platform beneath you crumbles and you're assaulted by the alien slaves. This is where the first problem appears. Despite being absolutely filled with them, this map is not a good place for the Vortigaunts. There's very little cover for you to use to hide from them, especially on the side you're coming from, and on hard mode especially, you won't escape without taking a lot of damage. So your immediate thought will be, hey, let's use those jump pads to go up to those platforms. The ones the game has tutorialized pretty consistently in the previous chapters on Earth, even if they oddly haven't appeared in Zen just yet. But then instead of just propelling you up like every single other one in the game has up to this point, it swallows you down into the earth and damages you before rocketing you up into the air. This makes it almost impossible to time a landing on one of the platforms, so if you weren't expecting it from the time this design decision traumatized you as a child, you'll almost certainly fall to your death. Great. Maybe you'll try it a few more times, maybe you'll even successfully land on top of one of the platforms without taking too much fall damage, or maybe you'll try to fight it out below with the Vortigaunts and realize that they keep respawning from the manta rays, so all you're really doing is wasting your ammo. This is probably when you'll notice the cave entrance positioned out of sight at the very end of what seems like just a hill from any other angle. Inside is the only bit of respite in the entire map, one of Zen's famous slow-as-fuck healing pools. Descending down further into the cave, you'll pass through this weird mouth room where spires move in to close off the exits and poison gas rushes in, which might be hinting that this place is alive? I actually like this room a lot because of that implication. It gives the whole place a more unnerving quality that's lacking in some of the more rocky and industrial levels later on. But you pass through quickly to another small cavern with a few barnacles and a bull squid, some health kits and supplies, and not much else before ending up in here. When you break this webbing, the spire suddenly shoots down like an elevator, and then fires back up once you're on top of it, bringing you to by far the worst part of the map. The sky. The moment you reach this height, you're besieged by alien controllers, who normally aren't a problem, but on these tiny platforms, their shots are nearly impossible to dodge. You spend all your time up here battling them while desperately waiting for the platforms to come close enough for you to fall down onto, because every single one is far enough down from the previous one that actually jumping to them will cause you to lose at least 10 health and fall damage. By this point, the average player might not have even realized that the portal to exit this level is on some random island positioned behind the player's view from where they start, so they have to stumble across it while fighting the controllers or something, otherwise they just won't know where it is. Why have you forsaken us, Brett? What did we do to deserve this? From there, you slowly descend the platforms and find that they still won't take you to that portal, so hopefully, you try jumping on the manta rays and ride them to the end of the level. This low down, you're back in range of the Vortigaunts. Keep in mind that this is the first and only time in the entire game where jumping and riding on something indistinguishable from an enemy is the solution. From start to finish, this map is full of horrible design choices that not only appear out of thin air here and are never used again in the game, but also some that actively prey on your expectations from previous areas and fuck you over for learning. It is by far the worst level in the entire game. And oh hey, you want a little Huh? You want a little to brighten your day? Well, too bad, there isn't any. I can't find a single piece of information or even a single picture of this map from before release. And it's no wonder why. If you wanted to use a Zen level to hype up the game in a magazine or something, there are plenty of better choices. The best I can give you is that, because this map's name is placed earlier in the list than Gonarch's Lair, this and the rest of Interloper may have been meant to come before it. I can see why they changed that. It would have given us 2 boss fights in a row to end off the game, and the factory leads up to Nihilith far more cleanly, so I'd bet this was changed relatively early in Zen's development, and they just kept the name so it wouldn't mess anything up. And speaking of Zen's development, I'm fairly certain this map was made by Brett Johnson, because from all available sources, he seems to be the main designer for most, if not all, of Zen's maps, and the way he talks about it in the 25th anniversary documentary makes it clear just how much of a pain it was to create them.
People were finishing up stuff and I was still working on Zen, because it was like it went through a lot of iteration, or at least we're trying to figure out what it was. Different people were taking swings at it, either in static concepts.
Weren't you under a bit of a timeline crunch for it as well?
Yeah, it was the end of the game.
Yeah.
I wanted to cut stuff out, and they're like, no, leave it in. I'm like, yeah, but I don't have any support for this. Right. And then after a lot of it was built, is like, oh yeah, we're gonna change the gravity and give you a jump pack. That came later. And I was like, ah.
Despite how much I despised this level, it wasn't made maliciously. Nobody puts things that aren't fun in video games on purpose, but the entire ending of this game was super rushed, and I can't help but think we'd be better off if this one map were cut entirely. The very next map is my favorite in all of Zen, and nothing else ever reaches the low points of Interloper's introduction, so as far as I'm concerned, nothing would be lost. If you want to just skip this level yourself without cheating, here's the easiest way I've found. Once you're in, leap directly to this spire before it can lift out of the ground, ride it up to the mantas, hop directly on top of one, and you'll be out of the map in under half a minute. As long as you know what you're doing, nothing in this game is truly horrible, but that kind of knowledge should never be required for a game to be enjoyable. It should still be fun on your very first playthrough, and this level just fails in that regard. It's a big, dark stain on my favorite game of all time, and that just makes me sad. Thank you very much for watching. This was kind of an experiment to see if I could make a half-decent video over the course of a couple days, so let me know how that turned out. I actually think Zen overall isn't nearly as bad as people act like it is outside of this one map, and I put a lot of blame for its bad reputation on just how deeply terrible it is. Someday I'll probably put together a big long video on all the great things I think Zen has and how much it adds to the game, but if you enjoyed this one, consider leaving a like or a comment or something, and come join me on my Discord server, link below. And as always,
I will see you up ahead.